Hi, Shan.
Well, this is fun. We're in the next room over.
You got to speak up.
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
I can hear you both ways.
Okay, good. So thanks for coming into the office. We've been able to, COVID's been interesting for us. You're familiar with the company, but COVID's been really interesting in that, the whole kind of premise of stay home, take care of yourself, and self-care that we've been talking about for 5 years that we've been in existence. It's been interesting to see the customers kind of say, oh, I need that. Now I'm going to slow down and take some time. So that's been really interesting without having to kind of convince anybody or, be more, there's been it's been interesting to see in our industry in beauty, a lot of beauty companies all of a sudden say, well, we do self-care because self-care is kind of a hot topic, where we've been doing as a company self-care since the genesis of the company. And so it's been really interesting and also super encouraging that in a global health crisis that people are, really gonna, I think, are focusing on their health, starting with exercising, having access to fresh air, eating better food, taking care of their mental health. I found that this month was Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I found it really interesting that, this major connection, if anybody had any concerns or issues with their mental health, being in quarantine and being in this type of stressful environment has really brought everything to the surface.
Yeah.
So I think it was people kind of had to make a determination. Am I going to take care of myself and face this? Because a lot of times I find that it's been interesting to watch. Usually you can kind of mask a lot of habits and things that are not good, meaning if you have a schedule and you have a tendency to be stressed and have anxiety, you can kind of mask that with activity, going to a restaurant, socially drinking, picking up your kids, having an activity, having plans, and you just kind of go from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And when you're put on pause and you have to sit with yourself and with others in close quarters, it's been really interesting to see people say, maybe I do need an antidepressant. Maybe I do need to do yoga. Maybe I do need to exercise more. And they've really been confronted with themselves in a much more personal way. And it's just been interesting for us to be on the backside of that and see people coming to us and communicating that.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely been a shift, as you said, from self-care and the wonderful products that your company puts out being a luxury to now a necessity, right? Because people are concerned about their mental health. They are trying to figure out ways to relax at home. They can't go get, massages and go to the nail salon and all of these things they used to do externally outside of the house to pamper themselves. Now they're trying to figure out other ways to do this. So, I bought a bunch of the products and kind of gave them away this month to women in my network and to some of the frontline workers. My best friend's a nurse at a hospital, and so we set it up for a bunch of the nurses to get some. And of course, everyone's raving about it. They love your products, as I do. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in founding Pure Soma, how long it's been, and we'll start there. And I'll give you another.
We launched the company 6 years this June. We launched our first account was actually in a juice bar in Washington, D.C. I had withdrawn from medical school at Georgetown and was living in D.C. and started the company. Detox bathing and hot water immersion was a protocol that I used when I was being treated for ovarian cyst. And so that protocol was really medical and very complicated and complex. And so when I wanted to start the company and make wellness treatments, I started with bathing. And that was always the core of what I felt was really healing. And what I learned is by soaking in mineral rich water, the intention was to heal parts of my body physically, but the actual best effect that I had from that was a mental release that relaxed me, made me calm, more clear, more focused. I slept better. And it was just a way for me to completely disconnect and repair myself in a very easy way at home that was affordable and accessible. And so as we grew the company and expanded the company, that's always been the mission, is to make, we've kind of lived in a luxury beauty world, selling to people like Nordstrom and Goop and Anthropologie. And, the goal of the company has really always been to make sure that wellness was accessible and affordable. And, that's the new chapter for Pure Soma, is to be able to expand and grow the company so that we can offer more products at better prices to more people.
Mm-hmm. And so you are working on that right now, and I think it tied in nicely with the pandemic and us being forced to be kind of at home. And you have physically relocated from the hustle and bustle of New York City to the farm in Maryland, but you're also working on initiatives to kind of, like you said, open up the products so that they're more accessible to people who aren't going to the luxury stores.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're a completely 100% natural, non-toxic company. We have no chemicals in anything that we make. We don't have chemicals in the office. We don't clean the office with chemicals. And we have a very strong connection to our ingredients, starting with the way that we either source it. I go to the farm, do the deals with the farmers, we import, manufacture, or we grow it at the Pure Soma farm. So we're very closely connected to nature and natural ingredients. And so it's always been a kind of a interesting dynamic for me to live in New York City, which is 100% not natural. And we set up the operations of the business here in Maryland, where we own a personal farm. And that's been a great move for us. And then just COVID was the catalyst for us to kind of relocate from New York in a more concrete way and expand the business and grow the business in a place that, in my opinion, has a connection to nature, because I find it very hard to kind of, the products are very healing to people that live in stressful environments. You have a different level of stress in New York City that is more focused on environmental toxicity, pollution, quality of food that you can get, quality of the water, but still people in all environments can have stress. I mean, you can be living in the most beautiful place in the world and you can be going through a divorce and you can have stress. And so I felt that for me personally, to kind of lead the company and grow the company and be inspired from a source of nature, that the move for me to be closer to nature was just kind of intrinsic to the language that the company speaks. And so that's been really interesting. And, funny because it's unfortunate that it happened in a pandemic, because if anybody else had told me, hey, you're going to get to go to Maryland and quarantine and live on the farm and not see another person for 3 months, I was like, great, what is it, my birthday?
Yeah.
But because it happened during a pandemic, you're just kind of like, whoa, what's happening? And we've really been able to, make the best out of that. We've been lucky that we had space to spread out so that everybody could keep their job. No one, we didn't lose anyone. We weren't forced to shutter. Our logistics stayed operational because we also supply to grocery stores. And so it's been a really positive thing, and the morale is still good, and everybody feels good. We've had a very big initiative with a company called, a nonprofit called Beauty United, which 2 weeks into the pandemic, we sent products and support to frontline workers at the Javits Center.
Yeah.
And everybody in the Beauty United group did, and that was like 52 beauty companies at the time. And so that's grown, and that's been really good. And then we've been able to support local hospitals here in the area too.
Love it. So when the pandemic's over, you go back to New York, and maybe not.
Maybe not. We'll see. I'm working on it.
I know. There's other considerations.
I'm working on it. I live with a New Yorker, so I'm working on it.
So tell me, I know you have, you're working on getting the product into some stores where it's more accessible to the common person who isn't maybe shopping at the high-end places or can't even get there right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Maybe what's the difference between the product that you have now and what's going in there?
Yeah, so we kind of made this shift when we moved into Ulta. The concept of the base of the company was that women shopped primarily for three things: beauty, food, and clothing. And so when I made wellness products, I said I have to place these where women are shopping. And so we always looked like a beauty product, but we functioned as a wellness product. And that wasn't really a category or a thing until beauty wellness became a category in about 2015. And so as that expanded, the goal of the company was to scale and to be able to source our own ingredients at a reasonable price so that we could pass that on to the customer. And when we went from $34 single serving detox treatments to $20 treatments at Ulta, we were able to do that with the same quality of ingredients, the same efficacy, because of the scale and the volume. And we always wanted to be able to pass that on to the customer. And the next step for the company is to move into traditional channels of retail, Target, Walmart, drugstore, grocery, in an effort to make, hot bath immersion a better quality experience with higher quality ingredients, more minerals, better aromatherapy, cleaner, completely non-toxic at a price point that is comparable with other products that are on the market. So anybody that's new to bathing but interested in wellness, to take away the stigma of, well, wellness is expensive, or wellness is only for fancy stores, or wellness is only for, the supplement section at Whole Foods. We wanted to remove that stigma, because I don't think that's right. I mean, when I originally made the products, I was in college. I didn't have any money. I was very ill, and it was very hard for me to find people that would treat me, and it took a lot of personal research, and I want to take that I don't want anybody to have to do the work. I would like them to just relax and take a bath and know that the ingredients that they're using are really good quality and really clean, and also very accessible, because it all comes down to time. And everyone is really short on time. I mean, we have more time now at home in the evenings because of what's going on. But in general, our lives are very, very busy. And with activities, merged families, non-traditional family setups, people commuting, people living in different places, doing lots of different things. And so I think that the biggest asset that we have, if you can wrap your head around it, is time. And so if you can get 30 minutes for your own self, I think that what we want to do is we want to remove the friction, the thought about, is this good? Is this clean? Do I need to research this company? No, we want to just say, this is a Pure Soma promise. This is a Pure Soma quality. This is pure ingredients. And we just want 30 minutes of your time for you to relax and unwind.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about it before. I use Epsom salt a lot, or sea salts if I can find them. But if I go into a Target or a Walmart, it's like their brand, which looks like a carbon copy of another brand, and most of them say they have essential oils in it, lavender or whatever, but it's so strong that as soon as I open the bag, I get a headache and I just like have to give it away because I can't use it. We don't have that issue with your products. It's natural. It tells you, the ingredients right there. You get the smell, but it's not overwhelming. And so it makes me wonder what they're actually putting in their products. But I definitely think this is something that's needed in the market because it's hard to find. And, prior to this, I traveled a lot, right? Like every other week. And I always make sure I carry my stuff with me. But occasionally if I run out and I'm somewhere else trying to find something, it's very hard to find something that doesn't have a bunch of coloring agents or other toxic chemicals. And then, like I said, the smell, that's one thing I'm super sensitive to that drives me crazy with a lot of wellness products.
Well, me too. And so, I would be traveling, and if I didn't carry my stuff with me, because sometimes you can't get it through TSA, I was so frustrated. I was like, why can't I walk into CVS or why can't I walk into Target and buy something that, a clean body oil, a clean shower product, or a bath soak that I can do in my hotel or on my vacation, which is when I actually have more time. Right. And I was really frustrated by that. And so I was like, well, there's no reason why we can't get to the point where we can make this accessible and still really clean. And we went through this whole, who's gonna verify that our products are really safe and healthy and not using fake fragrance and fake perfumes that irritate the skin. And the only body that I found that was going to do that really was us. I mean, we worked with the EWG, and they have a very good conclusive list on what's clean and not clean, but not everybody's familiar with the EWG. Not everybody knows what that means. And so what we're trying to do with founder sourced ingredients, which is what Pure Soma uses, which is FSI, is to get the customer familiar with the brand and trust the brand and trust hopefully me and the team, and be very transparent and clear. Like, this is where we grow things and this is where we harvest things, and we're passing that directly on to you, and this is what it looks like in our lab. Like, our lab has a glass wall, and I mean, the UPS person can look in and see what we're doing. There's no secrets there. And so the transparency hopefully will resonate with every customer that has a Pure Soma product.
What is FSI, Shannon?
FSI is founder sourced ingredients, and that's a seal and an initiative that we started inside the company when we went from a small contract manufacturer to a big contract manufacturer, and we were sourcing magnesium, and the contract manufacturer said to me, well, we can source that for you. You don't have to be involved in your supply chain. And they started sending me samples, and I mean, it's not something you would even feed your dog. I mean, it was terrible. And so I was like, we can't use this. And so I was like, okay, we have to control the supply chain. That's number one. So how do we control the supply chain? Well, you got to go find the ingredients, and you got to go meet the farmers and meet the people that have these ingredients. And we've been able to do that. And it took some time and research, but now we do that all the time. That's what we do. Like, if we can't talk to the people who are actually harvesting that or processing it, then we just don't work with them. And so we decided that we would put this seal called founder sourced ingredients, where I source everything. And then it kind of, grew into a bigger initiative. And then we started to look at, well, who is regulating like cosmetics and the ingredients? And the answer to that is no one, which is interesting. And a lot of people don't know that. So for instance, like if you go to buy food, right? If you go to buy packaged food, potato chips or something, those facilities are regulated by the FDA because they have food in there. Supplements are sometimes not, sometimes drugs are definitely regulated. But cosmetics, I mean, you literally could make soap out of your bathroom, and if you decided to put some, nasty chemical in it and just call it organic, no one is going to check on you. Right. So it's really up to the brand to be transparent, because no one is going to check. And you also don't want to use customers as kind of like your testing ground, right? So you don't want to do that. So you really have to spend a lot of time making sure that things are really what they say they are before you release it to the customer.
So how do you find clean beauty products if they're not regulated? Is there a specific website to go to where you
I
just
think
like,
I think the EWG does a good job. I think that they have a thing called Skin Deep,
what is
and
EWG? What is it?
Skin Deep.
No, EWG, what is that?
Oh,
Yeah,
EW is Environmental Working Group. And
got
the
it.
Environmental Working Group got a little bit of traction and publicity when Kourtney Kardashian got involved, and they went as a group. Also with the Beauty Counter, the Beauty Counter company is very involved with them, and they all went to DC to publicly lobby Congress to say we need to have X amount of chemicals not in beauty products, and if they are in beauty products, companies have to say that they're in there, and then the customer needs to know what those things are.
Okay.
And so the EWG said, okay, we're going to form a nonprofit group, and we're going to make a list of all those ingredients, and then we're going to put this app called Skin Deep. And so you can go into Skin Deep and you can look at the list and say, you can actually put your product in, and everything has a rating. So the lower the rating, the better the product is, the cleaner it is. So if it has a rating of like 0, 1, 2, it's clean. It doesn't have any of the nasty stuff in it. The higher the rating, the worse the product is. So even companies that are natural, it's good to look at the Skin Deep database. And there's not a ton of companies in the EWG, and I think it's really because they're pretty strict when they, you have to send them all of your safety data sheets and your chemical analysis sheets, and they look at everything. The only downside is that, like you just asked me what it is people in general are not familiar with that. So we had a seal of EWG on our products sitting at Ulta, and it was great. We were the only collection in the store that had EWG verified, but nobody knew what it was.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a problem. And in general, it's a problem in general for people, because now the retailers, like Target has a chemical transparency initiative. Sephora has clean beauty. They all have their own standard, and independently they're checking. But you'd have to be very familiar with like going into that store and looking into that section.
Yeah.
The Detox Market does a good job. That's a store called the Detox Market, and they're really strict. I mean, they will dig into your list of ingredients and say yes, no. But really it goes back to the brand, because the retailer can look all day long at your list of ingredients, but if the brand is not up to standards,
right,
you don't
if
know.
they're not being transparent. And
Yeah.
as a consumer, I don't know what half of that stuff means, right?
Of course not. It's no one knows what it is unless you have a degree as a chemist.
Yeah.
No one really knows what that. I mean, you wouldn't know. So that, I think Skin Deep takes some of the mystery out of it. But what we try and do is we try and just put like 3 or 4 ingredients in a product, and you can read what the ingredients are, and you don't have to have a degree to understand them. Like it's salt, it's clay, it's essential oil, it's rice bran oil, it's shea butter. Like there's no mystery there. It's kind of like food. I think about it the same way. Like the best kind of food that you can eat is when you put it on your plate and you can identify what you're eating without kind of like having to dissect it and think about what went in there.
Yeah, definitely. No, that makes sense. I'm going to definitely check out. I hadn't heard of the Detox Market. Okay, what bath would you recommend from your line, and what are your favorites?
I love the Digital Detox. I think that that's a great, strong product that you could use once a week, and it has clay and it has salt. It's a really strong, beautiful product. And I also love Just Breathe, which has eucalyptus in it, and I think it's great for the senses. And I also think that the idea of like just breathe and calming down is really good.
The Just Breathe, is that a bath ritual?
They're both soaks.
I know I have the Digital Detox. I don't think I have tried the Just Breathe yet. Okay.
Yeah, that has aromatherapy in it, and that's one of our best sellers at Ulta. People really like that one.
Yeah. Everyone loves the digital detox. I gave a lot of that away, and they've been raving. They love the clay. So, okay, what else? Not me is asking, how do we take this bath?
So taking the bath is part of like the differentiator with Pure Soma versus another company or bath company, in that we have a protocol, kind of a ritual. And the first thing on your list is disconnect from technology. Turn off your cell phone, turn off your devices, get into the tub, dry brush if you can. We make a dry brush and soak for 20 minutes, drinking water, and then get out and sweat. So we have a 5-step protocol that's really, if you take the 30 minutes to go through the whole protocol, you'll sleep and feel so much better.
Yeah. And you also have oils and scrubs and, like you said, the dry brush beyond.
We do. We make a nighttime oil, and we also make a nighttime oil with CBD. And we also make a daytime oil with flowers that were grown at the farm. So we have just really, I think when we decided to add CBD, you and I have had these conversations about CBD before. We decided to work with a company where we knew that they were growing the cannabis themselves, and then they were extracting it and putting it through a machine and then extracting the isolate. And then we take the isolate and then we infuse it into the oil. So we know that it's a very, very good quality. I'm a big fan of CBD. I think that if taken in the right dosage, it can be very helpful to anybody's health.
100%. And I'm totally addicted to the gummies that Floyd's sent for.
And how do you feel like that? Does that help with like sleeping, anxiety?
I don't have a lot of anxiety, but it just helps to keep me calm throughout the day. But it definitely helped me sleep.
I see someone's asking us, where is CBD sourced from? Good question. So this CBD is grown in Pennsylvania, in Lancaster County, and it's grown there, and it is naturally grown. No chemicals are sprayed on it, naturally harvested by hand, and then put through an extraction process there locally.
And it's good. Do you want to tell them the name?
Yeah, sure. So the CBD product is called Floyd's of Leadville, and the company was started by an ex-athlete, cyclist, and who originally grew up in Lancaster County. And so this current production, the way they're growing it is with Amish farmers. So Amish farmers are, historically they don't use machinery. They do a lot of farming by hand. So that works really well with cannabis production, because cannabis production is really the best way that it's grown and harvested is a hand process. And so it's very, very clean. I've seen it. We went to visit the farms. We went to visit the whole, factory and processing. And so that's why we decided to add CBD to our body oils, because we saw how clean that process was.
Yeah, and it's good.
Yeah, I started to take it. Everybody said it was really good for sleeping, and I took it originally for that. And then when I realized it had all these subtle effects for, you don't have anxiety. I struggle with anxiety a lot. But I realized it had a lot of subtle effects on, just very you don't notice it for a while. You have to take it for 2 weeks really to start to feel the effects. But it just it allows you to handle things and process things, I think, without like the kind of typical like overreactedness that you might normally have. That's what it did for me. Like in stressful situations, I was able to react and handle them better than
right?
Yeah, without making you high.
Right. Exactly. There's other things for that. This is not that. But also like for people for aches and pains, and if you have like pain in your back, your neck, whatever, from weights, from an injury, it helps with that as well. And they have balms. I've been taking like the drops, but I really like the gummies. as
Yeah.
well. But I have the
Yeah.
balms and creams and stuff too, and it's just way better than using, an ibuprofen or Tylenol or
Yep.
something.
And someone
Have
was asking how the bath helps with stress.
Yeah.
So here's how I think. I have been talking to my whole team about this article in Time Magazine, and I kind of won't shut up about it. But, the cover of Time Magazine is about stress and anxiety as a nation, as a whole country. And one of the things that they say on the one of the key things that they say is there's three things. They say 11 natural remedies to deal with stress. Number 1 is exercise. Number 2 is nature. And number 3 is a hot bath. And so we've done a lot of research and are about to do some clinical studies and trials on why a hot bath helps with stress. And the idea behind it is that the heat in the body, heating up the body, and laying in water, which gives you like a natural buoyancy,
Right.
and then sweating is an immediate relaxation to the body, and something to do with the temperature, the way the heart reacts to that, and then the cooling down in a relaxation state. Everything points to less stress, more calm, and better sleep. And obviously, when people are sleeping well, they're waking up better. Sleep is so important.
Yeah. She said I use CBD oil at night to help me with migraines. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I think the bath is just it's soothing. I think it's like your two things in one, right? It's like the effects of exercise, the hot bath, getting the sweat, and then the water is nature, and it just feels rejuvenating. And yeah, it lets you kind of just let go of everything, kind of melt into the water.
I mean, we have a lot of these conversations with people that are like, well, I don't take baths. I don't have time for baths. And
Yeah.
those are that's the hardest conversation to have, because people that like baths and they find that relaxing, they're already like, okay, fine. I already know that. Like, I feel good about it. I'm happy to upgrade my bath situation. But the people that don't, it's really, usually we get the commentary like, I don't have time. And that's why COVID's been interesting for us, because people do have time, and people that prior to that said, they were doing something else with their evening, they're now taking baths, and it's like a new habit for them. Like, this is not a habit for them that's going to go away. We actually have right now a 40% off discount on our site, which we ran when COVID first started. Really for us, this is not it's not profit gaining for us when we do that. And we did it immediately when COVID happened, because people were in such a panic state and alcohol sales went through the roof. And, I think everybody's kind of adjusted a little bit. Alcohol is not declining, but that's okay. It's people are homeschooling, so that's enough. But creating healthy habits that otherwise, people that said, I don't have time to exercise, have now made time to exercise. I see people on my road that normally has no foot traffic whatsoever. And you see people at 6:00 and they're walking and they have weighted vests. And, you can tell that these are not people who are like gym rats. They're not accustomed to being in the gym. And all of a sudden they're like, I need to walk because I'm going to feel better and I'm going to be less stressed. And I also do need to take care of my health, because what's happening in front of me is super obvious. Like, the CDC came out a month ago and said 92% of the people that have contracted COVID have hypertension, obesity, high levels of environmental stress, are immune compromised because they have lung deficiency, and some other, strong health issues, and type 2 diabetes. But, 75% of the things that the CDC attributed to becoming ill were preventable.
Yeah.
So lifestyle choices. And so that's why you see like the roads now, it's not just because people are home, but you see them because they're like, I need to take care of my own health.
Yeah, definitely. What was I going to ask you? So, I mean, yeah, the bath thing is funny because I have had some conversations with the men who are in my network, and like most of them are like, we don't take baths, but I'm gonna do wellness kits in June for men, and they're definitely gonna get Pure Soma pouches, like the bath rituals, and it's just like, just do it, just and then others are like, yeah, we'll try it. So it's most women are like, yeah, we're okay with it.
I think the solution for that is that bath companies need to make bathtubs bigger.
Well, there's that.
That's the commentary I always get. They're like, I'm way too tall for that bathtub. My wife can get in there. And I find that it's kind of true. I feel like if there was like, a longer, just like how they do the California King, and it's just like 6 inches longer. I feel like they need a California King bath. And so I think that's one thing, but I also think that men are historically less focused on their own personal care. And I find
they are in a different way, right? Like haircuts in the gym is like what they think.
I think their kind of tendency to do something that's indulgent on a personal level psychologically has not been part of our culture or part of the global culture. I think that indulgence for men is just different. It tends to be a different type of indulgence, and I think that the shift that we've seen that's been really commendable is because we've always made, it wasn't until like last 2 years ago that we put aromatherapy in our baths, but we've always made things very gender neutral, so that if anybody had a scent issue or they thought it was too masculine or too girly or in between or somewhere that felt like it was defined, we tried to stay away from that and make it very clean and simple and medicinal, as opposed to just a product for women. And so I think that, we've seen a lot of men. We've had more male customers in the past 3 months than we've had, I think, in the history of the company, which has been really good. Someone is asking how often to use a bath soak. So our detox soaks that have clay in them, you could use them once a week. They're pretty strong. And then the other baths that have aromatherapy that are the Rituals collection, you could use them every day.
And there's enough variety on there that you could have a different one every day.
Yeah. So we have one for sleeping that has jasmine. We have one that has eucalyptus if you're clogged. We have one that has lemon verbena, which is very opening and brightening to the senses. We have one called Hot Tub, which has ginger in it, which is great if someone has cold and flu symptoms. We have a couple that have a lot of seaweed in them. We have a really interesting source of seaweed. We have 2 types of seaweed, which increasing the immunity in the body and kind of releasing toxicity. And one is chlorella, which is farm-grown algae, and the other one is called laminaria, which comes right out of the natural seabed where the salt is harvested. So we use both of those things. So some of our baths, we've had people say, this was kind of smells like the sea. They're expecting, we don't make a bubble bath. We don't make something that smells like, like a vanilla candle. It's much earthier than that. And so I think if you understand like what those ingredients are doing, it's much more appealing.
Yeah, no. And I thank you for that, because if it was the bubble bath one, I would be done. I wouldn't be able to use it. And I think they smell earthy, but they still smell relaxing, and
And we have this, like, it's for someone that's new to kind of the bathing ritual, we make something called Spana Box. I think that's what you sent to your whole group of when you gifted the wellness products. And it kind of walks you through the steps where you dry brush the body, you scrub. We have a dry body scrub, which is super exfoliating, very hydrating. Then you soak, then you get out and you apply the nighttime oil, and then you go to sleep. And it's a really beautiful ritual to treat yourself to. It's really like going to the spa and not leaving home.
Yeah. No, and people loved it. I even gave my husband one. He hasn't opened it yet, but otherwise he would be trying to steal mine. So he doesn't have a we do have a very oversized, nice tub, and so I got him hooked a couple of years ago on taking baths. But and my son, I started him out. But I was even thinking like because for some like I had a couple of people I sent stuff to who just had babies like literally within the last week of Mother's Day. So I was like, you know, you could even for this stuff that maybe doesn't have the clay in it, they could use the pouches over time, just like in a foot bath. To get something because it'll be 6 to 8 weeks before they can actually get in a bath. So I
I
would
did
think
that a lot because it helps with edema. And a
yeah,
lot of new mothers have edema from if they had induction, if they were induced, or
yeah.
also they put the fluid on you if you had a long labor. And so I did foot soaks for about 6 weeks because of edema, and it really helps.
So I think that's another way to get men like to or anyone who's not a fan of baths or to try it
Mm-hmm.
out and like get one of those foot baths and stick your feet in and you'll have it. You could use one pouch every day for a week until you get your life together and get actually in the bath, which is good for you. So anything else that you want to tell folks?
No, I just think that, I think it's really, I know everybody wants to get back to, look, we've been working everybody wants to kind of get back to what's normal. And, I kind of have lived in like a non-normal category for a long time because, I do pick and choose my like non-working hours and non-family hours. I have made choices like, do I want to spend all of that time socially, or do I want to spend some of that time social and some of that time on myself?
Yeah.
And so I think this whole category that everyone, I was reading today that Oprah is going to do a virtual platform from May 16th to June 6th as part of the Weight Watchers Foundation group about self-care.
Yeah.
And, Oprah has a very big audience and platform, and if she's focused on self-care, I think that it's really important that people kind of understand what that is. And, sometimes it seems selfish to say, I'm going to take this time for myself. I'm going to not be with my family. I'm going to not be with my friends. I'm not going to be out in a social environment. And, we've been forced into that situation, but I think that there are some very good things that can come from that because, probably you also understand as a working mother, like if you don't have it together for yourself, it's very hard to give it to anybody else.
Right. Absolutely. And we haven't done a good job in the society as for prioritizing and to have time to yourself, right? And when we're raising our kids, like it's a feat if you can get your kids to go have time by themselves where they're happy, but then we don't kind of promote that as they continue to grow and as we continue to grow. So
I mean, you see these kind of like stereotypical moms that are like disheveled. They drop their kids at school. They're trying to go to a exercise class. And this is also like a non-working mom. And her like treatment for that is a very big latte from Starbucks. And
a glass of wine.
Yes. And that is just because there's no repair happening on the other side. And so I think that as important as it is to like, be efficient and get things done, I think it's as important to not get anything done and do repair. And I think that repair and reset as a mother, working or non-working, working at home or working professionally, I think is vital. And I think that is the self-care, is that repair that happens. And so we talk a lot about that on our blog. You can follow us at puresomalife.com, Pure Soma on Instagram. I also, Shannon Vaughn, have an Instagram, and I talk about ways that I treat my own anxiety. And so, we're always writing. We have a doctor that we have featured on our blog. We have sometimes visiting experts. We talk a lot about ingredients. And so, and also you can always email us with questions. If you have questions about clean beauty or self-care, any of those topics.
Love it. And we'll share those when we repost this. So no worries with that. Any other initiatives coming up with Beauty United? I know you.
So Beauty United they're growing. All the brands want to be supportive, and I think what's been nice about Beauty United is I think that as the pandemic calms down, I think that Beauty United will also be a really good source for kind of looking at beauty brands that are more sustainable, socioeconomically focused, and I think that will be a really good resource for people to look at and kind of what they're doing as an industry.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Shannon Vaughn, thank you for coming on episode
Thanks so
3
much.
Thrive to Survive. We will repost this and tag all of your socials. And, I'll see you in a minute in the other room. Bye.